Members, I just wanted to discuss just for a moment the refusal on the part of the Senate to accept a measure that came in from the House to allow for the restoration or allow for a process of the restoration of the name of a lake located in the heart of my district, Maka. I understand and I will allow for the caveat that this was a measure that came in late in the session and was not introduced as a bill prior to deadlines, and that was, of course, because the court decision that invalidated the naming came in late in the session, and so didn't have the opportunity for that kind of consideration. Nevertheless, I did want to acquaint members with the subject matter just a little bit. And hopefully we'll have the opportunity, if the appeal is not successful, which it may well not be, we have this opportunity to put this matter through a legislative process and have more discussion in the coming year. Members, I handed out an article that appeared in Minnesota Monthly by Sheila Eldred about Sid Bean and his efforts to restore the name of the lake. Sid Bean is a descendant of those who lived along the lake for hundreds of years. He descended of Chief Cloudman, who was the leader of the village on the shores. It's important to know that the process of considering this change didn't happen quickly or quietly. It was the subject of a lengthy community engagement process over the course of many years with the neighborhood organizations situated around the lake holding numerous discussions, other sorts of discussions with all kinds of organizations, and a lot of work door to door. The business associations also were in support. All those neighborhood organizations were in support. There were numerous public hearings by the relevant jurisdictions that had an interest and something to say about the name of the lake. So there was a lot of community engagement and a lot of conversation about it. I think folks have questioned that, and the record holds that this was a collaborative process. It's also important to know, and I won't question motives about those who pursued the lawsuit, but it is fair for everyone to know that in an op-ed submitted by one of the key funders of the lawsuit, he said that there was no answer to the question, what good have the Dakota people done for the state of Minnesota? I'll just put a pin in that. And the move to rename the lake or to restore the name of the lake was an effort for folks who had lived in that area, who were subsequently moved aside and had that land taken away to reconnect with the history, and for all of us to know about the history and in fact the very valuable and rich contributions that Native people have made and continue to make to the history and to the shared life in Minnesota, rather than continuing to allow the name of a person who never even set foot in the state of Minnesota, who had very, very well known, very publicized negative racial views, and was very adamant about pushing his power to push those views and the history of our country in a negative direction. So members, I regret that this matter is not a part of the committee report. The language as proposed overcomes the statutory prohibition on changing the names of water bodies that have held that name for 40 years. That is a matter of law, which can be superseded by a subsequent law. And of course, it's not a direct renaming of a water body by the legislature, which is constitutionally prohibited. The language allows for a process for the Commissioner of Natural Resources to, in a permissive manner, pursue a name change. And it meets all of the statutory and constitutional tests, and that was in fact the language that was being proposed as alternative language to that which was included in the House version of the conference committee committee process. Mr. President, I just wanted to highlight that, and hopefully Senator Ingebrigtsen will see fit to have a hearing on Senate File 2865 next year.